Welcome everyone to the Moisky News for April the 8th, 2020. Today I'd like to talk about the 4 newest and, let's say, most interesting characters to feature in the now completed Shadow Cabinet. Some names were dropped on Monday and I covered that here. Some of the names that are now returning, though, are familiar faces. Faces that I think a lot of us have opinions on. So first, Rebecca Long-Bailey, or Rebecca Wrong-Daly, has returned after formally challenging for leadership of the Labour Party as Shadow Education Secretary. She was formerly the Shadow Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industry. She has said since being announced as Shadow Education Secretary, "In this time of crisis, I will do my utmost to ensure that our teaching staff, students and their families receive the support they deserve. Never has there been a more important time to fight for a properly funded, accountable public education service, free at the point of use," which is a lie, "from cradle to grave so that all our aspirations can be realised. Social mobility is meaningless if we don't all rise together." How very polite. Returning also, but moving to a different post, is Emily Thornberry, who stays in the Shadow Cabinet, but has been demoted from Shadow Foreign Secretary, the role that is now inhabited by Lisa Nandy, the other contender for leadership, to now being responsible for the international trade portfolio. What a remarkably dull-sounding job. The next person of interest, the one that really sparked my interest to make this video in the first place, was David Lammy. I honestly didn't think he would ever feature in the cabinet again. He has in fact served on the front benches before in government. He is now taking over from Richard Bergen, the new Shadow Justice Secretary, which actually works towards Lammy's strengths. For those that don't know anything about him, he is an established and long-serving lawyer. He's also a key ally of the Daily Starmer, so it's understandable he would get offered a role at the same time. Now, I've said he served in the cabinet before. Under Tony Blair, he served as the Minister of State for Culture, and under Gordon Brown, he was the Minister of Innovation, Universities and Skills. He also opposed Jeremy Corbyn on Brexit because he wanted to remain, and Corbyn couldn't decide. So it should be very interesting to see what happens with David Lammy, whether he'll be more vocal than he ordinarily is, because he does appear on TV a lot, he is a personality, he gets a lot of attention, or whether he will be more quiet, which would be kind of counter to his very natural outspoken views. The final person who sparked my interest, the one that actually, over Lammy, more than anything astonished me that he'd even be allowed back in the cabinet, is actually somebody who failed to become Prime Minister as well. And no, I don't mean Jeremy Corbyn. No. I'm talking about somebody who actually was leader before Jeremy Corbyn. Ed Miliband. The wrong Miliband. Ed Miliband was, before he became leader of the opposition, Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change. So what is Ed Miliband's new role? He's the Shadow Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change. With Ed Miliband, he has been very outspoken in Parliament when it comes to the subject of climate change, so actually he is a good fit for this role. Upon being announced as Shadow Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change, he said we must all focus on playing our part in the country's response to coronavirus, working with government to help the many businesses and workers who have been so badly hit and need their voices heard. As Keir has said, we cannot go back to business as usual after the crisis. We will reshape our economy, addressing the insecurity many millions of workers face. We must also return to climate change as the unavoidable long-term issue of our time, including with a recovery based on providing economic justice through a Green New Deal. Well, that sounds promising, doesn't it? The idea of a Green New Deal. Where have I heard that before? Didn't it work so well last time? Where's my sarcasm sign? Now, we aren't going to see much of the potential of this Shadow Cabinet until the coronavirus has been, and let's use this word, defeated. But it is good to know what has changed and what has inspired the Daily Starmer. He might need a better haircut, since optics matter so much to Labour. Let's go with that. As with all things I cover on this channel, I'm very much interested to know what you think of these 4 people within the cabinet. Granted, I'll be honest, Emily Thornberry is probably the dullest of them all, but featuring Rebecca Wrong-Daly, David Lammy, and the wrong Miliband. Those are very interesting characters, and it'll be interesting to see if Keir Starmer, or the Daily Starmer as I've referred to him twice already, can truly unify his party and how they intend to push forward. So please do let me know in the comments down below.